As at 2006, Nigeria's population was about 140 million. In 2017, Nigeria's population is said to be well over 180 million. Well, today is World Population Day.
Now, this is a day which seeks to focus attention on the urgency and importance of population issues. This year's theme, Family Planning, Empowering People, Developing Nations, aims at providing safe, voluntary family planning.
The United Nations forecast that global population, which currently stands at 7.6 billion, will increase to 8.6 billion by 2030. 9.8 billion in 2050 and 11.2 billion in 2100. Roughly 83 million people are added to the world's population every year, and the upward trend is expected to continue even with a continuing decline in fertility rates.
Now, key findings in a recent UN report show that 60% of the world's population live in Asia, 17% in Africa, 10% in Europe, 9% in Latin America and the Caribbean, and the remaining 6% in Northern America and the Oceania. Now, India,
India, Nigeria, Congo, Pakistan, Ethiopia, Tanzania, the United States, Uganda, Indonesia, and Egypt are expected to account for more than half of the world's projected population increase over the period of 2017 to 2050.
All right, among these 10 largest countries worldwide, Nigeria is growing the most rapidly and is currently the world's 7th largest country when it comes to population and number 1 in Africa. Now, with an annual population growth of about 2.7% between 2010 and 2015, Nigeria is expected to grow from its current estimated population of 180 million to 300 million by the year 2050. To overtake the United States to becoming the 3rd largest country in the world after China and India.
Wow.
Wow. Well, Nigerians are getting busy, I must say.
Busy at night.
Getting busy at night. Wow. Now, joining us in the studio is the Media Communication Manager at DKT Nigeria, Lara Aluko. Lara, good morning.
Thank you for joining us.
It's good to have you join us. Now, when we talk about population explosion,
yes,
it could be scary, but it could be very interesting too. But is the world really overpopulated? Tell us.
yes. From what the expository you've given to us, the world is actually overpopulated. Looking at it from the angle of the amenities, the facilities that are available, the question is, are the facility enough for the number of people in each country? So if you have a situation whereby the facility are not enough for the number of people that are supposed to use it, if a facility is supposed to cater for 50 people and you have 250 fighting for that same facility, then it means that the world is overpopulated.
And they estimate that about 150 deaths are recorded every minute globally.
Yes.
And then, of course, it's still the same space.
Yes, the same space, yes.
Nothing
Nothing
the
has
population
increased.
is growing. So you're looking at the possibility, of course, the actuality in the future of overcrowding, overpopulation, as it were.
Yes.
So how apt is the theme of this year, looking at family planning, empowering people and developing nations?
I think at this point in time, we'll say that the theme is overtly apt in the sense that it should have been something we should have been talking about before now, before we get to this point. Because if people have been aware about family planning, if people are adopting family planning, if people are taking conscious effort, to live a healthy sexual life, I don't think we will be where we are today. So, because when you look at a family with 6, 7 kids that they can't even take care of, you get it, that the parents will have to say, oh, you go and live with your uncle, you go and live with your auntie. Then I think for such family, where is family planning for them? Is it that they've not heard about it? Why haven't they put in place measures to take, to have the number of kids they can cater for?
Well, when it comes to Nigeria, a lot of people are very skeptical about family planning. Why? Because does that have to do with the fear of what birth control really stands for.
Okay.
Because they believe that God is the one who gives children. So allow God to bless us the way he should bless
Because
us.
when you hear Nigerian women say that
Exactly.
all the children God has given me, I must bring
We
forth.
must bring forth. And
Okay,
things like that.
then I think it's high time we need to start changing that perspective. You know, somebody once said to me that, do you know that God is the best family planner? And I was like, come on, explain that to me. And he said, you know, with the millions of sperm that is released, it's only one that will fertilize the egg. Why can't God just release all the millions to fertilize?
Whoa.
And you have millions of babies coming out. You get it? So what we are saying is, talking about this family planning now, you ask the question that why is it that people are not as adopting it? Number one, I will pin it on the fact that here in Nigeria, we've had so many myths and misconceptions around family planning. We've had even the word family planning. Let me explain that. When you look at the word family planning and you put it out there to people, do family planning, the first thing that comes to mind is, hello, I'm not married. You are not married. You are doing what the married people are doing, and you are not expecting to have kids. So how do you want to do it? So people will come at you to say the family planning is only for married people. But looking at it, if we try as much as possible, with those advocacy, we try as much as possible to look at it that for the unmarried, for the married, what are we trying to prevent? Unplanned pregnancy. So what is the word that will capture each and every one of us? And that will be pregnancy prevention. So if I come at you as, okay, you are sexually active, you need to pregnancy prevent, you need to prevent sexually transmitted diseases, then it's like that will resonate more with you than family planning. So coming back to your question now, we've had various myths and misconceptions about family planning. And I can tell you, the one of it is, if you use the method, you become infertile. And that's a very big myth.
The only promiscuous women too.
Yes, thank you. In fact, I had a man call and say, oh, the day a woman took contraceptive injection in my area, she has let loose. And the presenter was asking, sir, is it the contraceptive injection that made? He said, no, it's because she cannot get pregnant now, so she's doing it. I said, that's part of the misconceptions that some men, some married men, will not even allow their wife to do. But these are having repercussions on the society.
Exactly. Now, talking about the effect on the society, especially at the long run, because we understand that family planning is not just good for the family now, you know, the small set. Yes. But if a woman is able to plan her life, plan the spacing of her kids, that she will be able to perform optimally at work, in the society, and whatever. She, tell us more about that.
Okay, thank you. WHO recommends that between every kid, when you have a child, you should rest for 2 years before you take in. But I don't think that's the case in Nigeria. Because you have a mother breastfeeding 6 months old calling you to say, sorry, I missed my period again. And you begin to wonder, when you went for antenatal, were you not told that after 6 weeks when you come with your baby, were you not given family planning education? Were you not given contraception education? So now, talking about a woman performing optimally, you know, our maternal mortality rates in Nigeria is still high. And that's because women are not resting. That's because in this part of the world, we believe that the role of a woman once you are married is just to procreate. But I feel it is, you know, putting in a particular method, because the method varies. You have duration that helps you to plan. You have ones that will go for 5 years. You have one that will go for 3 years. So within a space of 3 years, if you have your first, within that 3 years, you can go to school. You can do courses that will get you promoted in your office. And that way, you are adding value to the society. You are not just giving the society a burden. You are contributing your quota. But a situation whereby I don't have a dream as a woman, all I want to do is sleep at home, get pregnant, pop up babies. I'm stretching the facility of the society, and I'm not giving back.
Without making contribution.
Without making contribution. Yeah. But once you have a form of modern contraception in place, it helps you to also give back. It even helps you to, you know, to help the family. Because, you know, looking at what is happening in Nigeria, we realize one way or the other that the burden is not in, you know, the burden is now even too much for the men to carry. Exactly. So now as a woman, what is the quota you are contributing? So if you can space, you have the space, you are on a form of contraception, Within that period you are resting, you are adding value. You are even helping to build. You are helping to save for the time that the next baby will come.
All right. The UNFPA, alongside United Kingdom and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, are sponsoring, convening a world summit on family planning. In all of this, it seems there's so much attention or focus on educating the woman.
Yes.
How about the men? How effective is that when you focus on the women? Because they do this in relationship to the men.
And they are the heads of the family.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you. You see, that is part of what dictates in Nigeria. One way or the other, we are changing in our environment. We realize that family planning messages, contraception messages have been targeted at women. But in our own society, the women do not really have the power to make that choice. Exactly. So you still need the consent of your husband. So what we do, try as much as possible to do, is to educate both men and women. And that's why we use the word, once you are sexually active. Sexually activeness as a man, as a woman, you need to think of a method. So, you know, and that is why we call on men. That is why we tell the men that the health of your wife matters a lot. If you love your partner, your wife, if you love that person, then you need to think about the health of this person. So in thinking about it, it means that you are actually encouraging her to say, oh, wife, I love you so much. I don't want to lose you. I want you to enjoy life. Then we need to adopt this method. So at advocacy, what we do is to give us all-encompassing messages that is not women-focused, that is everybody-focused. And that's why we are moving out of that word, family planning. That is why we are saying pregnancy prevention. You know, both of you were saying, oh, Nigerians have been busy throughout the night. It's not only in the night. As we speak, Nigerians are busy.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. So being busy, in fact, the conventional night is no longer as interesting as the one in the morning.
Because the conventional night... So, you know, because of that, we try as much as possible to push out messages that talks to everybody. Right. We call on the men. And the beautiful thing now, from the work we've been doing at DKC, we've been getting more feedback from the men
than women.
Let me amaze you. We started a campaign in the north. And we started in February. It was a radio campaign, and we're going out. Do you know that in the first 13 weeks of that program, we got messages, feedback from men. 80% of the men in the north are the one asking, which method is good for my wife? We don't born 3. Which one we go use?
Wow, that's impressive.
That's impressive. So, you know, when we saw that, we realized that, oh, these men are really feeling the economic, it's getting to them. So now they are the ones. So
either way, at least they are listening. Now, the SDGs target of 2030, many believe that are largely now, the targets are largely dependent on sexual and reproductive health. Now, should the campaign for family planning be a one-off thing here, or should be not just a goal of SDGs now worldwide, but something very important because it has a direct effect on the world population?
I love that question. Thank you. I think of family, the way we preach about be earth conscious, the way we preach about environmental values, the way we preach about our environment, then the same way we should think about family planning. The same way the message should be out. Yeah. But I would like to say this, that in Nigeria, over time, there has been so many restrictions around you talking about contraception. Okay. Because once they hear you want to talk about it, you have so many bodies coming at you that you can't talk about it at this time. You can only talk about it at this time. But the question is, at those times that they give to us to talk about it, the people that needed the information, are they on here? Do they listen at that time? So, you know, the message is something that everybody should sing, including parents at home.
Because Africans somehow kind of shy away from sex education.
Oh, thank you. In fact, that we get so much. you know, I was discussing with someone this morning, and I told him, I said, a woman with 3 daughters was telling me on radio that she cannot sex educate her children. And I asked her, you have 3 daughters, and you can't sit with them to talk about sex education. She said they will teach them in biology in school. I said, oh, okay.
Wow. That's the wrong one.
I said, that's it.
Wow.
So if a mother with, you know, a mother thinks that way, so now tell me, the society is going to
In
bear
fact,
the
it's
brunt.
even better for the parent to be the first
To teach,
tell the
to
children
tell
about these things. All right, we don't have all the time now, but we have to round off somehow. But let me ask you this. When it comes to birth control, we've heard the Chinese strategy that worked for some period of time. If we bring that to Nigeria, we know that under the presidency of General Babangida, when he was head of state, he brought that up sometime, and a lot of people really kicked against it. But the reality is facing us in the face now. In 2050, Nigeria is going to be the 3rd largest country in the world after China and India. Yes. Would it be proper now to talk about birth control?
Have 2 kids, 1 kid. Put a cap on the number of kids to have once you're married.
Put a cap.
Yes, I think is about time we go that way.
Okay.
I think that we actually regulate what the population explosion. I think that will be the best method, even for we ourselves, that we love to procreate and we don't have the means to take care of them.
All right. We have to end it there right now. Thank you very much for coming, Lara Aluko, for coming on the program. Thank you.